"Watch it, old man," one of the teenagers snarled, deliberately bumping into 90-year-old Arthur Green and sending him stumbling off the curb into a busy street. Horns blared. Arthur, a decorated veteran of 3 wars, caught his balance just in time. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from a sudden cold rage. The teens just laughed, high-fiving each other as they swaggered off. 20 minutes later, still congratulating themselves in a nearby alley, the entrance was suddenly blocked by 2 imposing figures in Marine Corps dress blues, followed by the sharp, disciplined sound of marching boots. Arthur Green had lived 90 long years, most of them in service. He'd enlisted as a boy, lying about his age to fight in World War II, then stayed in, serving through Korea, and even completing a tour in Vietnam before retiring as a master gunnery sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. His small apartment was filled with carefully preserved mementos, faded photographs, service commendations, a shadow box of medals. He never wore them, but each one was a reminder of sacrifice, camaraderie, and lives forever changed. Though frail now, walking with a simple wooden cane, his eyes still held the clear, direct gaze of a man who had faced death and never blinked. He lived quietly, keeping mostly to himself. Daily walks to the park, visits to the library, and the occasional treat at the bakery were enough. He didn't ask for much, just peace and a little respect. On this particular afternoon, he was heading to the bakery for his weekly eclair when he encountered the group of teenagers. They were well known in the neighborhood, 4 or 5 of them, often seen loitering, their boredom giving way to petty vandalism and intimidation. Arthur usually gave them a wide berth, not out of fear, but to avoid unnecessary confrontation. Today, though, they blocked the narrow sidewalk outside the bakery. Sprawled across a bench, legs stretched out, they forced pedestrians to step into the street. Arthur approached politely. "Excuse me, lads," he began, his voice raspy with age. "Could I trouble you to let an old soldier pass?" The leader, a tall youth with a sneering expression and a backwards baseball cap, looked Arthur up and down with contempt. "Old soldier, huh? What are you, 100? His companions chuckled. "Just trying to get to the bakery," Arthur said calmly, resting a hand on his cane. "If you wouldn't mind." "Mind?" The teen echoed mockingly. "Yeah, I think we do mind. This is our bench, Grandpa. Find another route." He stretched his legs further, completely blocking the path. Another chimed in. "Yeah, maybe. You should go home and take a nap before you fall over." Arthur felt a familiar, long dormant stirring of disciplined anger. He kept his voice steady. "There's no need for rudeness, son. Just asking for a little courtesy." "Courtesy?" The leader scoffed and stood, towering over Arthur. "You want courtesy? Maybe you should show some respect to your betters." Then, shockingly, as Arthur tried to step around him, the teen stuck out his foot and shoved Arthur hard on the shoulder. "Watch it, old man." Arthur stumbled off the curb. His cane flew from his hand as he landed heavily, yet upright, in the path of oncoming traffic. Horns blared. A car swerved violently. Arthur, heart pounding, scrambled to safety using instincts decades old. The teens roared with laughter. "Look at him dance," one jeered. "Maybe he learned that in the Yahweh." They high-fived each other, and seeing the disgust on the faces of bystanders, sauntered off into a nearby alley, still laughing. A kind woman rushed over and helped Arthur retrieve his cane. "Those dreadful boys," she exclaimed. "Are you hurt, dear?" Arthur's hip ached, and his pride had taken a bruising, but he managed to smile. "Just startled, ma'am." "Thank you." The casual cruelty had cut deeper than the fall. He had faced enemy soldiers who showed more honor than those boys. He picked up his cane, their laughter still ringing in his ears. The eclair no longer appealed to him. He just wanted to go home. But something stopped him, not just the pain in his hip, but something older, deeper. He was a Marine. And Marines didn't walk away from an assault on one of their own. He wouldn't fight them himself. Those days were gone. But he knew other ways. That alley led to a dead end behind a derelict warehouse, a known hangout for troublemakers. He also remembered the Marine Corps recruiting station just 2 blocks away. Gunny Miller, the hard-as-nails sergeant who ran it, had a soft spot for old veterans. Arthur had met him once at a VFW event. He pulled out his old flip phone, no direct number for Miller, but he had the station's main line. Marine Corps recruiting, Sergeant Peterson speaking. Sergeant Peterson, Arthur said clearly. This is Master Gunnery Sergeant Arthur Green, retired. I need to speak with Gunny Miller, immediate concern. Disrespect shown to the uniform, assault on an elderly Marine. Location, alleyway behind. The old packing plant, corner of Elm and 3rd. A pause. Then Peterson's voice sharpened. Master Gunny, stand by. Connecting you to Gunny Miller now. The line clicked. This is Gunny Miller. Who's this? Gunny, it's Arthur Green, Master Gunnery Sergeant, retired. The tone shifted instantly. Master Gunny Green, sir, what can I do for you? Arthur recounted the events, factually, without embellishment. The blocked sidewalk, the insults, the deliberate shove into traffic. The teens, now hiding in the dead-end alley. They disrespected the Corps, Gunny, he said softly. And they put one of its own in harm's way. Silence. Then Miller replied, voice icy. Are you injured, sir? Shaken, bruised, but functional. Elm and 3rd behind the packing plant? How many? 4 or 5, mid-teens. Consider it handled, Master Gunny. Stay clear of that alley. We'll counsel them, Marine Corps style. The line went dead. Arthur found a bench with a view of the alley entrance and sat, waiting. He didn't have to wait long. Within 10 minutes, the quiet street transformed. Marines appeared, not in combat gear, but in crisp service Charlies or utility uniforms. Gunny Miller led them, looking like a coiled spring, flanked by recruiters and young poolies awaiting boot camp. They moved with purpose and silent precision. At the alley mouth, they split up. 2 blocked any escape. The other 6, led by Miller, disappeared into the alley's shadows. Arthur couldn't see what happened inside, but he could hear. The sudden end of teenage laughter, followed by a heavy silence. Then came Gunny Miller's voice, clear and cold. He couldn't make out the exact words, but the tone was unmistakable, pure authority. It was the sound of a drill instructor tearing into someone, a verbal assault sharpened with the promise of swift, unpleasant consequences for disrespect and stupidity. There was no physical violence, no thuds or cries, just that relentless, controlled voice cutting through the air like a scalpel. After what felt like an eternity, but was likely only 5 or 6 minutes, Gunny Miller's voice stopped. Another Marine spoke up, his tone equally firm, possibly explaining the finer points of respect for elders, for veterans, for the community. Silence followed. Then the teenagers began to emerge from the alley, one by one. They looked like they'd aged 10 years in a few minutes. Their bravado was gone. Faces pale, some on the edge of tears. They moved without swagger, without defiance. They crept out as if escaping a battlefield, heads down, avoiding eye contact, scurrying down the street with trembling legs. Every few steps, they glanced over. Their shoulders, like they feared divine punishment might yet fall. Gunny Miller and his Marines followed them out, expressions stern, but tinged with grim satisfaction. Gunny spotted Arthur sitting on the bench and walked over. He came to a perfect salute. Master Gunnery Sergeant Green, sir. The situation has been addressed. Those young men have received a thorough orientation on the core values of honor, courage, and commitment, with a particular emphasis on respecting their elders and those who have served. Arthur stood slowly, returning the salute with more steadiness than he expected from himself. Thank you, Gunny. And thank your Marines for me. No thanks necessary, Master Gunny, Miller said. His gaze was still sharp. We take care of our own, always, and we don't tolerate disrespect to the cause or to those who built its legacy." He paused. "You sure you're all right, sir? Need a ride somewhere? Medical attention?" "I'm fine, Gunny," Arthur said, a small, genuine smile finally forming on his lips. "You and your men already gave me the best medicine I could ask for." Gunny Miller nodded and turned to his Marines. "All right, Leathernecks, fall in, back to the station. And good work." They formed up with precision, executed a crisp, about-face, and marched off in perfect unison. The street fell quiet again, but it wasn't the same. Arthur watched them disappear, a warmth blooming in his chest that had nothing to do with the sun. He felt seen, respected, not like an old man people looked past, but like a Marine again. He even felt up to that eclair now. The story of what happened in the alley became local legend, told in hushed voices with a mix of awe and amusement. The teenagers in question became unusually polite afterward, giving a wide berth to anyone over 60 and suddenly showing deep respect for military insignia. Arthur Green continued his daily walks, but now when he passed the Marine recruiting station, there was always a sharp salute from whoever was on duty, and a quiet nod between them. A nod that said, "We know who you are." Because the Marine Corps doesn't forget its own. The ethos doesn't fade with age. It doesn't break under time or pressure. It endures. And when one of their own is disrespected, the response, whether it's a squad of Marines teaching a few punks a lesson in a back alley, is swift, decisive, and unforgettable. Some lines you just don't cross. Ever. Semper Fidelis. Subscribe to my channel if you believe the bond between those who served is unbreakable, and that respect for our veterans is a sacred duty.